The other day, a buddy reached out and asked my take on Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer's video on mixing peptides, either in a vial or in the syringe for a single shot. And right off the bat, I want to say I haven't been watching Dr. Trevor very long, so I'm no expert on his content, but I have watched a little bit. But there is something about his look that I really respect. Handsome guy. From what I can see in this video, he really does know his stuff. I'm going to explain why. So I'm not just going to glaze him here. I'm going to explain basically the layman's take on what a doctor has to say on this topic. I've been working with stubborn products for the last 3 years, trying to get more absorption, higher concentrations, etc. And sometimes to do that, oftentimes to do that, you have to kind of Trojan horse it with a cyclodextrin, where it's an insoluble product. You'll put it in a mix, heat, stir, and get a cyclodextrin to encapsulate it so it'll have the water solubility properties of the cyclodextrin, not the target product, which may be almost useless in water. Now, why am I bringing this up? Recently, I've been looking into something called co-crystals, and co-crystals are the same type of thing where we're increasing the stability and water solubility of a substance, but by combining it with another substance that has better water solubility properties or better stability properties when combined. It's a little trickier of a process and is a little more specific to each individual chemical that you'd be trying to combine. An example might be like a vitamin C combined with another herbal supplement. If you can get both in powder and work it just right, you can get a combination that is maybe tastes better, maybe has more water solubility. Anyway, my point is that this process is not some crazy, kooky process that's way out in science fiction. It's essentially just heating and putting the ingredients in solvents and doing it correctly. Think about what you're doing when you're mixing peptides. And this is what Dr. Trevor gets into in this video. What he has to say is similar to what I understand about co-crystal formation. Now, will you get a co-crystal out of your peptides when they're mixed? No, but you might not maintain the individual integrity of each peptide when it's combined in a bottle. To give you an idea what I'm talking about here, is there a danger of improper bonds formed during co-crystal formation? Yes, the formation of unwanted alternative solid forms such as salts, solvates, and single-component polymorphs, etc. is significant and a common challenge. So when people are producing specific substances, you have to be very careful not to accidentally make a Frankenstein's monster out of it that's unusable. And I think that's what Dr. Trevor is getting into with this. Now, I hope this makes some sense, but what you want when you do a co-crystal formation a lot of times is a bond along the hydrogen atoms, which would be here to here, so that you would have this chemical, and they wouldn't bond, say, here and here, which is a major component of whatever the target substance is. If these bond here, then your main substance has become another substance. It's not just length. And this is the type of danger that we're looking at when combining peptides in one bottle. And something I want to point out here too is that Dr. Bachmeyer even points out that it's a case-by-case basis. Now, some peptides you could probably mix with another peptide or this or that. But the danger is just doing it willy-nilly or not doing the research first and knowing what may clump together, make a Frankenstein's monster of a peptide, and what may actually just set up just fine. I have some workarounds with the stuff that I mess with. I can actually complex them in HPBCD and then combine them in the same bottle, and then you've got a buffer between the actual target substances. This is not about niche products. This is about general peptide products. Something that's often not thought about is that water itself is a solvent. We think of water as a carrier for water-based peptides. But if something is soluble in water, then it is using water as a solvent. And if you're using water as a solvent with two different peptides and you put them together, now you've got two peptides in solvent. So that's the point with this. It's not just as cut and dry as, yeah, they'll stay separate. They'll keep on their own side of the bedroom. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it does. Now, Is there a danger, like you're going to get some kind of crazy peptide that's going to injure you or do some mutation in your body or cause a horrible allergic reaction? I think the chances of that are low, not impossible, but low. More than likely, what's going to happen if you improperly mix peptides, whether in a syringe or in a bottle for storage, is that there will be some degradation and some commingling that will dampen or even ruin the effectiveness of what you're trying to get out of your various peptides in the bottle. Now, again, this is not every single peptide with every single peptide. Different peptides have different properties, especially when it comes to solubility and things like that. But many common peptides are water soluble. That's why they're solved and carried in BAC water. If it's water soluble and you've got a couple in there, you may not get both out in as full a dose when you go to use it later. It might be blunted, it might be ruined, it might be mostly good. Bottom line is I wouldn't want to take the chance without doing a little research first. Now, what can you watch out for? Well, if they have similar water solubility, if they are known to form easy bonds between the different peptides. So if you can look into those sort of things, you may be able to have an educated guess on how they will combine and either clump together or stay separate or whatever you need them to do. But if you're not willing to do that kind of research first for each peptide that you're doing, and no, I'm not going to take questions on that and do that for everybody because I don't know either. I'd have to take it case by case. But that's what you have to look into if you want to combine them. Otherwise, if you just don't know, I wouldn't waste my money. I'd keep my peptides separate. Do a small shot of each, no big deal. So hope this made some sense. Just my layman's take on what a doctor had to say, and I think everything that he had to say makes sense when it comes to, my little bit of background with, formulation and combining different products and things like that. I can see how easily it can happen, and I can see how it would ruin the peptides you have. Hope you got something out of this, and I'll see you soon.